Alright, because it is that time of the year when everybody's starting to use their air conditioning, you might think, well man, my air conditioner's not blowing as cold as it used to. Well, that happened to me today driving my trusty '03 Ford Explorer. I was sitting in carpool waiting for my daughter to come out of school, and as I'm sitting there and letting it idle, it doesn't seem to blow as cold as it used to. It used to be really, really cold coming out, and now it's nowhere near as cold as it was. So what happens when you rev it up when you're driving down the road, it's nice and cold, but when you're sitting there idling, it is not as cold. So because I'm pretty sure it's probably just a little low on Freon, I've had this thing going on about 3 years now, and it used to be really cold. It probably just needs a little bit of Freon to fix that. So what I was gonna do is go through the process of what you need to do. You can go to your local parts store, just grab a can of R134 Freon. In this case, this is called the Sub-Zero refrigerant. Comes with a nice little gauge on it. It helps you read it with the connection. And on the Explorer, you open your hood. Let's look there. Aha. There's our fitting that we need. That is not the fitting there. So now we're going to come over here. I'm actually going to hook up right here on the passenger side to our fitting. And now that we're hooked up to it, you'll see our pressure is extremely high. It's over 60 pounds. Now that is normal. When the compressor is not running, it's gonna show a high pressure. So what you wanna do is you wanna crank the vehicle. You wanna put it on max air conditioning, which is the recirculation. Put your fan on high and you wanna roll the windows down. So let's do that real quick. Just gonna turn this on. High, and we'll roll the windows down. Now that that is up and running, we can see where our Freon is. And as it's running, we can see that it's actually dropping down. What I'm doing is I'm going to add a little bit to it, because as you can tell, when we rev it up, it does drop down some. And I always add a little bit at a time, and then I rev it up and make sure it's good and cycled in there. And that's about as high as I like to get it. I don't want to get it too much out of the range. And typically you're looking for about 45-ish pounds is about a good range. And right now we're sitting about 47, 48 on this gauge. You can look at that. So it's holding steady about 48. So now we can simply just unplug this. And it's closed off like that. And now that's closed off, we'll put our cap back on it. Make sure that is good and tight. This is clearly our high pressure side. We don't want to do anything with that. And then we'll come over here and we'll check to see how it feels. And that does feel pretty cold. It actually feels a little different than it did before. So I might have used not quite a third of a can, maybe a third of a can of this. So it didn't take much, but we were pretty much right in the levels where it needed to be. Everything else in here looks good. And you can see the compressor is actually engaged and running properly. So everything else seems to be fine. You also want to check and make sure you don't have any restrictions blocking your airflow for your heat exchanger. or your condenser, and all that looks fine. So at this point, we're gonna call it good. And that's pretty much all it is to it. Pretty easy to do yourself. Definitely feels colder than it was. And again, you definitely don't want to overfill it. The worst thing you can do is overfill this thing and then lock up your compressor. And it will vary a little bit on temperature. It says it's 89 degrees outside right now. So the higher the temperature, the more you can adjust the pressure. So I still feel like you want to keep it under 50 pounds of pressure. So nice little quick video to show you how to add some Freon to it. This is really the cheap, down and dirty way. There's other ways to do it with a full set of gauges that measure the high and the low pressure side at the same time, so you can see if there's a restriction or anything in it. But for this video, I'm going to do it the way most people do it, where you just go, you buy the can, you pop it in yourself. I might do another video where I have the gauges and I can show you what that looks like with the high and low gauges. But for the average person that doesn't know much about doing this themselves, this is how you can do it. Keep it in the green, shake this up, start putting it in real slow. Don't get over aggressive and just start cramming it in there. Again, you don't want it to be in the yellow. You don't want it to have too much and be overfilled. Okay, till next time.